The sun was setting over Moyne, painting the sky in vibrant hues of orange and pink. From the rooftop observatory of the Solar Storm Forecast Center, Dr. Lei T. Quinn watched as the last rays of light disappeared behind the horizon. The gentle breeze carried the scent of salt from the nearby sea, a stark contrast to the sterile environment of her laboratory below. At 42, Quinn had spent more than half her life studying the stars, but never had they seemed as threatening as they did now. November 14th, 2175. Just another day for most of humanity. But for Quinn, it marked the beginning of what would later be known as the Starfall crisis. She adjusted her augmented reality glasses, scanning the data streams that flowed across her field of vision. The Aegis Array, Earth's global defense network of high-energy satellites, reported nominal status across all sectors. Humanity's shield against cosmic threats was functioning perfectly. "Everything looks stable," she murmured to herself, taking comfort in the routine. Since its completion 15 years ago, the Aegis Array had neutralized 17 potentially dangerous asteroid fragments, establishing itself as humanity's impenetrable defense against the cosmos. Civilization had grown confident, perhaps overly so, in their technological prowess. Meteor showers and space phenomena were now viewed as mere technical problems to be solved, not existential threats to be feared. Quinn's communication device chimed softly. "Dr. Quinn, your presence is requested in the main control room. The evening briefing is about to begin," the AI assistant announced in its melodious voice. "I'll be right there," she replied, taking one last look at the darkening sky. For a brief moment, she felt an inexplicable sense of unease. She dismissed it as fatigue from the long hours she'd been working and headed toward the elevator. The control room bustled with activity as scientists and technicians monitored the vast array of screens displaying data from across the solar system. The room was dominated by a massive holographic display of Earth and its surrounding space, with the thousands of satellites that made up the Aegis Array represented as tiny blue dots orbiting the planet. "Dr. Quinn, right on time," greeted Director Nguyen, a stern man in his 60s, who had overseen the center since its inception. "We've just received the latest solar activity report. A minor coronal mass ejection was detected, but its trajectory won't impact our systems." Quinn nodded, relieved. Solar storms were unpredictable and could potentially disrupt the Aegis Array if severe enough. "That's good news. Anything else I should be aware of?" Director Nguyen shook his head. "Nothing out of the ordinary. The array is performing at optimal levels, and no significant space debris has been detected within the warning perimeter." "Perfect," Quinn said, though the earlier feeling of unease lingered. "I'd like to run a deep diagnostic on the primary sensor array tonight, just to be thorough." The director raised an eyebrow. "Is there something specific you're concerned about?" "No," Quinn admitted. "Just being cautious. We haven't had a full system check in 3 months." "Very well," he conceded. "But don't stay too late. The international conference call tomorrow requires your full attention." After the briefing concluded, Quinn returned to her private laboratory. The walls were adorned with star charts and complex mathematical equations. A small, framed photo sat on her desk, a younger Quinn, standing proudly beside her first satellite prototype. Those were simpler days, before she carried the weight of humanity's safety on her shoulders. She initiated the diagnostic sequence and watched as the system methodically checked each component of the sensor array. Everything was functioning normally, just as expected. Perhaps her anxiety was unwarranted after all. As the diagnostic continued, Quinn's thoughts drifted to her past. 10 years ago, she had lost a research satellite during a routine mission. A miscalculation, they said. An unavoidable accident. But Quinn had never fully accepted that explanation. She should have anticipated the solar flare that destroyed her life's work. Since then, she had dedicated herself to predicting and preventing cosmic disasters, a path that led her to become the director of the Solar Storm Forecast Center. Her contemplation was interrupted by a sudden, high-pitched alarm. The holographic display flickered, showing a massive burst of radiation emanating from a distant point in space. "System alert," the AI announced. "Anomalous radiation detected from Cygni X1 black hole." Quinn's heart raced as she watched the radiation burst travel through space at near light speed. "Calculate trajectory and potential impact," she commanded. "Processing," the AI responded. After a few seconds that felt like an eternity, it continued. Radiation burst projected to intersect with Aegis Array satellites in Sector 7 in approximately 43 minutes. Quinn immediately opened a communication channel to the control room. "Director Nguyen, we have a situation. I need immediate authorization to reposition satellites in Sector 7. "What's happening?" The director's voice crackled through the speaker. "A massive radiation burst from Cygni X1. If it hits our satellites, it could disrupt their functionality. We need to adjust their position to minimize exposure." There was a brief pause before the director responded. "Authorization granted. But Quinn, make sure this isn't an overreaction. The Aegis Array is designed to withstand radiation." "Not of this magnitude," Quinn muttered, as she closed the communication channel. Her fingers flew across the holographic interface, sending commands to the satellites in Sector 7. They would need to rotate their solar panels away from the incoming radiation and enter a temporary defensive mode. But it was already too late. The radiation burst moved faster than anticipated, washing over the satellites before they could complete their defensive maneuvers. Quinn watched in horror as the blue dots representing the satellites in Sector 7 began to blink red. "Multiple system failures detected in Aegis Array Sector 7, the AI reported. "Defensive capabilities compromised. Asteroid detection systems offline." And then, as if the universe itself was conspiring against them, another alarm sounded, this one deeper and more ominous. The asteroid detection system, what remained of it, had identified multiple space debris fragments accelerating toward Earth. "This can't be a coincidence," Quinn whispered, her mind racing to understand the connection between the radiation burst and the sudden appearance of asteroid fragments. The communication channel opened again, this time with Director Nguyen's voice filled with urgency. "Dr. Quinn, report to the Emergency Operations Center immediately. We're facing a Level 1 crisis." Quinn rushed through the corridors of the facility, her mind processing the implications of what was happening. The Aegis Array, humanity's great shield, had been compromised, and now they were vulnerable to whatever was hurtling toward them from the depths of space. The Emergency Operations Center was in chaos when she arrived. Scientists and military personnel moved frantically between workstations, their faces pale with concern. "What's our status?" Quinn demanded as she approached the central command console. "It's not good," Director Nguyen replied grimly. "The radiation has disrupted approximately 30% of the Aegis Array. Our ability to detect and neutralize incoming objects is severely compromised, and we're detecting multiple asteroid fragments on a collision course with Earth." "How many?" Quinn asked, dreading the answer. "Current estimates suggest over 2,000 fragments of varying sizes," a nearby analyst reported. "The largest appears to be approximately 50 meters in diameter." "Time to impact?" "The first fragments will enter Earth's atmosphere in approximately 26 hours. Quinn took a deep breath, forcing herself to remain calm. "We need to assemble the emergency response team. Get Lemin on the line. We'll need his piloting skills. And contact Anya Petrova at the International Space Station. She's our best satellite repair engineer." "Already done." Director Nguyen nodded. "They're both being briefed and will arrive within the hour." "Good," Quinn said, turning her attention to the global map displayed on the main screen. "Now, let's identify the most likely impact zones and begin evacuation procedures." As the team worked feverishly to assess the situation, Quinn couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this crisis than a random cosmic event. The timing of the radiation burst, followed so quickly by the appearance of asteroid fragments, seemed too perfectly orchestrated to be natural. But that was a mystery for later. Right now, they had less than 48 hours to prevent what could be the most devastating catastrophe in human history. Min arrived at the center 2 hours later, still wearing his flight suit from a training exercise at the Space Defense Academy. At 35, he was considered the best space pilot in the Asian Alliance, with reflexes and spatial awareness that bordered on superhuman. He was also Quinn's oldest friend, having met during their university days when both dreamed of exploring the stars. "I came as soon as I heard," Min said, his usual jovial expression replaced with grim determination. "What's the plan?" "We're still formulating one," Quinn admitted. "But it will involve someone piloting the Skybreaker to manually reset the affected satellites." The Skybreaker was the military's newest spacecraft, designed for rapid response to threats in low Earth orbit. It was still in the testing phase, but it was also their only hope of reaching the disabled satellites in time. "So, I'll be flying into a radiation-soaked sector of space to fix satellites while asteroids rain down around me?" Min asked, a hint of his typical dark humor returning. "Sounds like a Tuesday." Despite the dire circumstances, Quinn found herself smiling. Min had always faced danger with a nonchalance that she both admired and worried about. "We'll try to make it more interesting for you." Their brief moment of levity was interrupted by the arrival of Anya Petrova. The Russian engineer was in her late 40s, with streaks of silver in her dark hair and eyes that reflected years of working in the harshest conditions of space. "Dr. Quinn, Captain Le," she greeted them formally. "I've reviewed the preliminary data. The situation is worse than initial reports suggested." "How so?" Quinn asked, her smile fading. "The radiation hasn't just disabled the satellites. It's corrupted their core programming," Petrova explained, pulling up technical schematics on a nearby display. "Even if we can physically repair them, the software would need to be completely reset." "That would take days," Min pointed out. "Days we don't have," Quinn agreed. "We need a faster solution." As they debated their options, the facility shook with a sudden tremor. Alarms blared throughout the complex. "What was that?" Min asked, steadying himself against a console. Director Nguyen rushed into the room, his face ashen. "The first asteroid fragment has made impact. It struck the Gobi Desert approximately 5 minutes ago." "That's impossible," Quinn exclaimed. "The calculations showed we had at least 26 hours before the first impact." "The fragments are accelerating," Petrova said, quickly analyzing the incoming data. "Something is affecting their trajectory, increasing their velocity." "Casualties?" Min asked quietly. "Unknown at this time. The Chinese government has locked down all communications from the region," Director Nguyen reported. "But, given the size of the impact, we can expect significant seismic effects throughout the region." Quinn felt a chill run down her spine. This was happening too fast, too unexpectedly. Everything they thought they knew about asteroid behavior was being challenged. "We need to modify our approach," she decided. "Min, prepare the Skybreaker for immediate launch. Anya, you're going with him. I need you to assess the satellites firsthand." "And you?" Min asked. "I'll coordinate from here and continue analyzing the radiation patterns. There's something about this whole situation that doesn't add up, and I need to figure out what it is before more fragments hit." As Min and Petrova left to prepare for their mission, Quinn turned her attention to the global communication system. "Connect me with the United Space Organization headquarters in Geneva," she instructed the AI. The holographic display shifted to show the stern face of General Ibrahim, the current head of the USO's Defense Division. "Dr. Quinn, I've just been briefed on the situation. The Global Council is convening an emergency session. We don't have time for politics." "General," Quinn said firmly, "I need immediate authorization to redirect all functional Aegis array satellites to focus on the largest incoming fragments." That would leave many regions without any defense, the general pointed out. If we don't stop the largest fragments, regional defenses won't matter, Quinn countered. We're looking at potential extinction-level events. After a moment's consideration, General Ibrahim nodded. Authorization granted, but the Council will want regular updates, and they'll expect solutions, not just problems. Understood, Quinn said, ending the transmission. For the next several hours, Quinn worked tirelessly, coordinating with space agencies around the world and analyzing the increasingly concerning data about the asteroid fragments. The pattern of their approach defied natural orbital mechanics, suggesting an external force was influencing their trajectory. Meanwhile, Min and Petrova had boarded the Skybreaker and were preparing for launch. The spacecraft was a marvel of modern engineering, sleek, fast, and equipped with the most advanced defensive systems available. But it had never been tested under actual combat conditions, and today it would face the ultimate trial. Launch sequence initiated. Min's voice came through the communication channel. Skybreaker is go for ascent. Quinn watched on the monitor as the spacecraft rose from its hangar, its engines glowing brilliantly against the night sky. Godspeed, both of you, she whispered, though she had long since abandoned any belief in divine intervention. In this moment, though, she would take help from any quarter. As the Skybreaker climbed toward the stars, Quinn returned to her analysis. The radiation burst that had disabled the satellites had originated from Cygni X1, a black hole over 6,000 light-years from Earth. Such bursts weren't uncommon from black holes, but the timing and intensity of this one were unprecedented. Her concentration was broken by another alarm. Second impact detected, the AI announced. Indian Ocean, approximately 400 kilometers south of Sri Lanka. The holographic display showed the impact point and the resulting tsunami wave already beginning to form. Calculate wave height and time to landfall for coastal regions, Quinch ordered. Estimating tsunami wave heights of 15 to 20 meters. Coastal impacts expected within 2 to 3 hours for nearest landmasses. Quinn immediately opened communication channels to all countries bordering the Indian Ocean. This is Dr. Lathy Quinn of the Solar Storm Forecast Center. We have confirmed an asteroid impact in the Indian Ocean, generating a significant tsunami. Immediate evacuation of all coastal areas is recommended. One by one, the representatives acknowledged the warning, their faces showing varying degrees of panic and resolve. The global supply chain, already strained by political tensions, would be further disrupted by this disaster. As Quinn coordinated the tsunami response, she received an update from the Skybreaker. We've reached the affected satellite cluster, Min reported. Visual inspection confirms significant external damage. The radiation levels are higher than expected, Petrova added. The suits will protect us, but we'll need to limit EVA time to 30 minutes maximum. Understood, Quinn replied. Focus on the primary control satellite first. If we can reset that one, it might help restore communications with the others. As Min maneuvered the Skybreaker alongside the damaged satellite, Petrova prepared for her spacewalk. The plan was for her to manually access the satellite's emergency reset system, while Min kept the spacecraft stable. Beginning EVA now, Petrova announced as she exited the airlock, tethered to the Skybreaker by a thin but incredibly strong carbon fiber line. Quinn watched through Petrova's helmet camera as the engineer carefully made her way to the satellite. The once pristine white surface was now scorched and discolored from the radiation exposure. The external damage is extensive, Petrova reported, her breath audible through the communication channel. But the core systems appear intact. I'm accessing the manual override now. As Petrova worked, Quinn noticed something strange in the radiation readings. The levels weren't consistent with a natural burst from a black hole. They had a pattern, almost like pulses, she murmured. The radiation is coming in pulses. She quickly pulled up historical data on radiation bursts from Cygni X1 and compared them to the current readings. The difference was subtle but unmistakable. Natural radiation from a black hole should be chaotic, random. This was structured, almost as if it had been engineered, Quinn whispered, the realization sending a chill down her spine. This isn't natural at all. Before she could process the implications of this discovery, Petrova's voice came through, tense and urgent. We have a problem. The reset protocol isn't working. The satellite's core programming has been completely overwritten. Overwritten with what? Quinn asked, her mind still reeling from her discovery. I'm not sure, Petrova admitted. It's not like any code I've seen before. It's almost as if... Her transmission was suddenly cut off by static. Anya, Min, do you copy? Quinn called, anxiety rising in her voice. After several tense seconds, Min's voice broke through the static. We're here, but something's happening with the satellites. The holographic display in the control room showed the affected satellites beginning to move, adjusting their positions in a coordinated pattern. They're realigning, Quinn observed, confusion evident in her voice. But why? The answer came in the form of another alarm. Multiple new asteroid fragments detected, the AI announced. Current count exceeding 5,000 objects. The display updated to show a swarm of debris, now heading directly toward Earth's major population centers. It was as if the disabled satellites, rather than protecting Earth, were now guiding the asteroids toward the most devastating targets. It's a coordinated attack, Quinn realized, the words feeling strange as she spoke them. Someone or something is using the Aegis array against us. That's impossible, Director Nguyen protested, having just entered the control room. The system has fail-safes, redundancies, all of which have been compromised by the radiation, Quinn pointed out. A radiation that I now believe was artificially generated. The implications were staggering. If Quinn was right, this wasn't a natural disaster, but an orchestrated assault on humanity. But who would have the technology to manipulate radiation from a black hole thousands of light years away? And why target Earth now, when they had finally achieved a measure of global cooperation through the United Space Organization? There was no time to ponder these questions. Min, Anya, abort the repair mission, Quinn ordered. The satellites are compromised beyond repair. Return to base immediately. Negative, Min replied, his voice steady despite the danger. We've come too far to turn back now. Anya has an idea. Petrova's voice came through, clearer now. The satellite's self-destruct mechanism might still be functional. If we can activate it across the entire network, it would create an energy pulse that could disrupt the asteroid's trajectory. But that would destroy our entire defense system, Director Nguyen objected. We don't have a defense system anymore, Quinn countered. What we have is a weapon being used against us. She turned her attention back to the communication channel. Anya, what do you need to activate the self-destruct? Direct access to the master control satellite, Petrova replied. But it's in the heart of the radiation field. The Skybreaker's shields won't hold against that level of exposure for long, Min added. We'd have minutes at most. Quinn closed her eyes, weighing their rapidly diminishing options. The next wave of asteroid impacts would begin within hours, targeting major cities across the globe. Millions, perhaps billions, would die. Do it, she decided. But I'm coming with you. The self-destruct sequence requires biometric confirmation from a level Alpha administrator. That's me. Quinn, no, Min protested. The radiation is a risk I'm willing to take, she interrupted. Prepare for my arrival. I'll take the emergency shuttle. Despite the objections of Director Nguyen and her staff, Quinn was resolute. 20 minutes later, she was aboard the emergency shuttle, a smaller and faster craft designed for rapid transit to orbital facilities. As the shuttle accelerated toward the rendezvous point with the Skybreaker, Quinn used the time to continue analyzing the radiation patterns. The more she studied them, the more convinced she became that they were artificial. The pulses had a mathematical precision that couldn't occur naturally. Someone had weaponized a black hole, using its immense energy to disable Earth's defenses before launching an asteroid attack. But who? And why? These questions haunted her as the shuttle approached the Skybreaker's position near the damaged satellite cluster. Docking sequence initiated, the shuttle's AI announced as it maneuvered alongside the larger spacecraft. Once aboard the Skybreaker, Quinn was greeted by Min's concerned face. "You shouldn't be here," he said, though there was resignation in his voice. He knew better than most how stubborn she could be. "We don't have time for this," Quinn replied, already moving toward the command center where Petrova was working. "What's our status?" "Not good," Petrova admitted, her face illuminated by the glow of multiple screens. "The master control satellite is here," she pointed to a holographic map. "Surrounded by the highest concentration of radiation, the Skybreaker's shields will last approximately 12 minutes at full exposure." "And the self-destruct sequence?" Quinn asked. "Once initiated, we'll have 5 minutes to clear the area before detonation." Quinn did the math quickly. "So we have 7 minutes to reach the satellite, initiate the sequence, and begin our retreat." She looked at Min. "Can you get us there that fast?" A ghost of a smile appeared on his face. "I didn't become the best pilot in the Alliance by being slow." With Quinn and Petrova securely strapped in, Min guided the Skybreaker deeper into the radiation field. The ship's warning systems blared continuously as the radiation levels climbed, but Min's hands remained steady on the controls. "Approaching master control satellite," he announced after several tense minutes. "Prepare for deceleration." The Skybreaker slowed alongside the massive satellite that served as the central hub for the entire Aegis array. Unlike the others they had seen, this one showed no external damage, its pristine white surface reflecting the distant sun. "That's strange," Petrova muttered. "It should have been affected by the radiation like the others." "Unless it was shielded," Quinn suggested, her suspicion growing. "Or designed to withstand it." There was no time to investigate further. "Radiation exposure at critical levels," the ship's AI warned. "Shield failure imminent." "Anya, with me," Quinn said, heading toward the airlock. "Min, keep the ship steady and be ready for immediate departure on our return." Quinn and Petrova donned their spacesuits, enhanced with additional radiation shielding, though they both knew it wouldn't be enough for prolonged exposure. "Remember, we have less than 5 minutes once we're outside," Quinn reminded the engineer as they entered the airlock. "Understood," Petrova nodded, her expression resolute behind her helmet visor. The airlock cycled, and then they were outside, floating in the void. The master control satellite loomed before them, its surface now visibly rippling with strange energy patterns. "It's definitely been modified," Petrova observed as they propelled themselves toward the access panel. "These energy signatures aren't standard for any Earth technology I'm familiar with." Quinn felt a growing sense of dread. If the satellite had been altered by technology beyond their understanding, who knew what other surprises awaited them? But they had no choice but to proceed. They reached the access panel, and Petrova quickly bypassed the external security measures. "I'm in," she announced. "Accessing the self-destruct protocol now." The panel slid open to reveal a complex array of circuits and a biometric scanner. Quinn placed her hand on the scanner, and after a tense moment, it beeped in recognition. "Administrator Letty Quinn recognized," a mechanical voice announced. "Please state authorization code for self-destruct sequence." "Authorization Lambda 97 Epsilon 0, Quinn recited, the top-secret code that she had hoped never to use. "Authorization confirmed. Self-destruct sequence initiated. 5 minutes to detonation." As soon as the confirmation came, Quinn and Petrova pushed away from the satellite, using their suit thrusters to return to the Skybreaker as quickly as possible. "Sequence initiated," Quinn reported to Min as they approached the airlock. 5 minutes and counting. "Get inside now," Min urged. "Radiation levels are spiking. Something's happening with the satellite. Quinn glanced back and saw that the master control satellite was indeed glowing with an intensifying blue light. Energy arced between it and the surrounding satellites, creating a web of brilliant connections. Once safely inside the airlock, Quinn and Petrova removed their helmets, both gasping from the exertion and stress. "Did you see that?" Petrova asked, her eyes wide. "The energy transfer between satellites? That's not part of the standard self-destruct protocol." "No, it's not," Quinn agreed, a knot forming in her stomach. "We need to get out of here now." They rushed to the bridge, where Min was already initiating the departure sequence. 3 minutes to detonation, he informed them, his hands flying over the controls. "We should be at a safe distance by then, assuming the Skybreaker can maintain maximum acceleration despite the radiation damage." The ship lurched forward, straining against the gravitational pull of Earth as it sought to put distance between itself and the doomed satellite network. 2 minutes to detonation, the AI announced. Quinch monitored the radiation levels, which continued to climb at an alarming rate. "The energy buildup is exceeding projections," she warned. "The blast radius may be larger than we anticipated." "How much larger?" Min asked, not taking his eyes off the navigation controls. "I can't say for certain," Quinn admitted, "but we should—" She was interrupted by a new alarm. "Incoming object detected," the AI reported. "Classification: asteroid fragment. Size: approximately 50 meters in diameter." "Where?" Min demanded. A holographic display appeared, showing a massive asteroid fragment on a direct collision course with their position. This was the Great Shard, the largest of the asteroid fragments that had been detected earlier. "Impact in 60 seconds, the AI calculated. "Current trajectory intersects with Skybreaker flight path." "Evasive maneuvers," Min ordered, his hands tightening on the controls. The Skybreaker responded instantly, veering sharply to avoid the oncoming threat. But the asteroid fragment, as if guided by an unseen hand, adjusted its course to match their evasion. "It's tracking us," Petrova realized, her voice filled with disbelief. 1 minute to satellite detonation, the AI reminded them, adding to the growing sense of doom. Quinn's mind raced, trying to find a solution to their impossible situation. They couldn't outrun the asteroid, and they couldn't remain in the blast radius of the satellite network. Then, an idea formed, desperate and dangerous, but possibly their only hope. "Min, change course," she ordered. "Head directly toward the master control satellite." "What?" Min exclaimed, momentarily taking his eyes off the controls to stare at her in shock. "Trust me," Quinn insisted. "We need to get the asteroid between us and the satellite before detonation." Understanding dawned on Min's face, and he nodded, adjusting their course. The Skybreaker swung around, now heading back toward the glowing network of satellites, with the asteroid fragment in pursuit. 30 seconds to detonation, the AI announced. "Warning: critical radiation levels detected." The Skybreaker sped toward the satellite network, the asteroid fragment closing the distance behind them, with terrifying speed. 20 seconds to detonation. "Brace for proximity pass," Min warned, as they approached the master control satellite. The Skybreaker skimmed past it, missing by mere meters, and then Min executed a sharp turn, using the satellite's gravity to slingshot them in a new direction. 10 seconds to detonation. The asteroid fragment, unable to match the Skybreaker's maneuverability, passed directly between them and the satellite network. 5 seconds. "Maximum thrust!" Quinn shouted, and Min pushed the engines beyond their safety limits. The Skybreaker shot forward, the structural integrity alarms blaring as the hull strained under the acceleration. Detonation imminent. In the final second, before detonation, Quinn caught a glimpse of the master control satellite through the rear viewport. The blue energy that had been building had reached blinding intensity, connecting all the satellites in a web of pure power. And then the universe seemed to hold its breath. The detonation, when it came, was unlike anything Quinn had ever witnessed. The satellite network exploded, not with the conventional blast they had expected, but with a cascading wave of energy that rippled outward in all directions. The asteroid fragment, caught in the heart of the blast, was instantly vaporized, along with all the smaller fragments in the vicinity. The energy wave continued outward, washing over the skybreaker despite their desperate attempt to outrun it. The ship shuddered violently, systems failing across the board as the energy overloaded their circuits. "We're losing power," Petrova shouted over the cacophony of alarms. "Engine failure imminent." "Switch to emergency reserves," Min ordered, fighting to maintain control of the dying spacecraft. Quinn monitored the asteroid tracking system, watching as the energy wave disrupted the trajectories of the remaining fragments. Many were being pushed off course, away from Earth, but not all. "Some fragments are still on collision courses," she reported grimly, primarily targeting North America and Europe. The skybreaker drifted now, its main engines dead. Emergency lighting cast an eerie red glow throughout the bridge as the three of them contemplated their situation. "Life support is stable for now," Petrova reported after running a diagnostic. "But we have no propulsion. We're in a decaying orbit." "How long before re-entry?" Quinn asked. "Approximately 6 hours," Petrova calculated. "Without engine control, we won't survive the descent." Ming, ever the optimist, flashed a grim smile. 6 hours is a lifetime in our line of work. We'll figure something out." Quinn wasn't listening. Her attention was fixed on a small, blinking light on her personal communication device, a backup system that operated on a different frequency than the ship's main communications. "I still have a connection to the emergency network," she realized, quickly tapping commands into the device. "If I can access the remaining functional satellites in the Aegis array, I might be able to redirect them to intercept the remaining asteroid fragments." "But the master control is gone," Petrova pointed out. "How will you coordinate them?" "One at a time," Quinn replied, her fingers flying across the small interface. "It's inefficient, but it's all we have." For the next hour, Quinn worked tirelessly, manually redirecting each functional satellite to target specific asteroid fragments. It was painstaking work, and she was acutely aware that every second brought both the asteroids and the skybreaker closer to Earth. Meanwhile, Min and Petrova attempted to restore some degree of control to the damaged spacecraft, cannibalizing non-essential systems to repair the propulsion and guidance systems. "I think I've got something," Min announced finally, a note of triumph in his voice. "It's not pretty, but we might have enough thrust for a controlled descent." "Define controlled," Petrova said skeptically. "We probably won't explode on impact," Min offered with a shrug. Before they could discuss the plan further, Quinn's communication device beeped with an incoming transmission. "This is the International Space Station calling Skybreaker. Do you copy?" "This is Skybreaker," Quinn responded immediately. "We copy, ISS." "We've been monitoring your situation," the voice continued. "Rescue shuttle is en route to your position. ETA 90 minutes. Relief washed over them, but it was short-lived. "What about the asteroid fragments?" Quinn asked urgently. "Are the redirected satellites having any effect?" "Affirmative," came the reply. "Your intervention has diverted approximately 60% of the remaining fragments. Global defense forces are mobilizing to address the others." It wasn't a complete victory, but it was something. Quinn allowed herself a moment of hope before turning her attention back to her work. There were still more satellites to redirect, more lives to save. As they waited for rescue, Quinn found herself drawn to the viewport, staring out at the stars that had been her lifelong passion, and now her greatest challenge. The universe was vast and largely indifferent to human existence. But today, it felt personal, as if something out there had deliberately targeted them. "What are you thinking?" Min asked, joining her at the viewport. "About who might be behind this," Quinn replied softly. "The radiation pattern, the satellite modifications. None of it could have occurred naturally. "You think it's an alien attack?" Min raised an eyebrow. "I don't know," Quinn admitted, "but I intend to find out." The rescue went smoothly, with the shuttle from the International Space Station docking with the Skybreaker and transferring them to safety. As they departed, Quinn watched the damaged spacecraft drift away, eventually burning up in Earth's atmosphere, a fiery end to their harrowing ordeal. Back on Earth, the aftermath of what was now being called the Starfall was becoming clear. The Gobi Desert impact had created a crater 2 kilometers wide, disrupting geological systems throughout the region. The tsunami from the Indian Ocean impact had devastated coastal areas in multiple countries, with casualties in the thousands. But the worst had been prevented. The largest asteroid fragments, those that would have struck major population centers, had been diverted or destroyed. Humanity had survived, though not unscathed. In the weeks that followed, Quinn led the investigation into the cause of the disaster. Working with scientists and intelligence agencies from around the world, she analyzed every piece of data collected during the crisis. The evidence all pointed to a deliberate attack. The radiation burst that had disabled the Aegis array had indeed been artificially generated, though the technology required to manipulate energy at such a distance was beyond anything currently known to Earth science. The modified master control satellite, too, showed signs of tampering far more sophisticated than human technology could achieve. Someone, or something, had been planning this assault for years, possibly decades, subtly altering Earth's defensive systems to turn them into vulnerabilities. But the question remained, who? And would they strike again? 6 months after Starfall, Quinn stood once again on the rooftop observatory of the rebuilt Solar Storm Forecast Center. The Aegis array had been restored, with new safeguards and redundancies to prevent a similar attack in the future. But Quinn knew that technology alone wouldn't protect them. "Beautiful evening," Min commented, joining her at the railing. He had been appointed commander of the new Space Defense Force, a position that kept him busy, but, fortunately, still based in Moyne. "It is," Quinn agreed, her gaze fixed on the stars emerging in the twilight sky. "But I can't help wondering what's out there, watching us." "Whoever they are, they failed," Min pointed out. "Humanity survived. We're rebuilding, stronger than before." "This time," Quinn said softly. "But they're still out there, Min, and I don't think they've given up." The investigation had revealed one final, disturbing detail. Hidden in the corrupted code of the master control satellite was a message, a simple sequence of numbers that, when decoded, formed a countdown. To what, they didn't know, but the timer was still running. "So what do we do?" Min asked, his usual confidence momentarily faltering. Quinn turned to him, her expression resolute. "We prepare. We learn. We understand the universe not just through our technology, but through observation and intuition. And most importantly, we stand together." The world had changed since Starfall. Nations that had once been adversaries now worked in concert, recognizing that the threat from beyond eclipsed their terrestrial disputes. The United Space Organization had been granted unprecedented authority and resources to coordinate global defense efforts. And at the heart of it all was Quinn, whose warnings and quick thinking had saved countless lives. She had become a symbol of humanity's resilience in the face of cosmic threats. But fame wasn't what drove her. As she stood beneath the stars, Quinn was driven by the knowledge that, somewhere out there, an intelligence had tried to eradicate humanity, and might try again. She was determined to be ready when they did. The next day, Quinn presented her findings to the Global Council. Representatives from every nation listened intently as she outlined both the attack and the countermeasures being implemented. "In conclusion," she said, addressing the solemn assembly, "we face an adversary of unknown origin and capability, but we are not defenseless. By combining our resources and knowledge, by approaching space not as a conquest, but as a partnership, we can protect our world from whatever may come. There was a moment of silence before the council erupted in applause. One by one, the representatives pledged their support for Quinn's initiative, a new approach to space defense that emphasized understanding over domination, cooperation over competition. As the meeting concluded, General Ibrahim approached Quinn with a rare smile. "Dr. Quinn, the Council has unanimously approved your proposal for the Cosmic Understanding and Research Division. You will have full authority and resources to pursue your investigation." "Thank you, General," Quinn replied, feeling a weight lift from her shoulders. For months, she had advocated for a more holistic approach to space defense, one that combined traditional technology with deeper studies of cosmic phenomena. Now, she would have the chance to implement it. The new division would be housed in the reconstructed Solar Storm Forecast Center, with Quinn as its director and a hand-picked team of scientists and researchers from around the world. Their mission: to understand the nature of the threat that had orchestrated Starfall and to develop strategies to counter future attacks. Among her first recruits were Min, whose intuitive understanding of space had proven invaluable during the crisis, and Petrova, whose engineering genius would help them develop new technologies based on what they learned from the modified satellites. Together, they began the painstaking work of decoding the countdown hidden in the satellite's programming, hoping it would lead them to the source of the attack. Weeks turned into months as they analyzed the code from every angle. Progress was slow, but gradually patterns emerged, patterns that pointed to a specific region of space, far beyond the solar system. "It's coming from the direction of the Andromeda Galaxy," Quinn announced one evening, after a particularly breakthrough in their analysis. "Not from the galaxy itself. It's much closer than that, but from that general direction." "Could it be a rogue planet or a spaceship?" Min speculated, studying the star charts. "We don't have enough data to say," Quinn admitted. "But whatever it is, it's been watching us for a long time." The countdown, they had determined, would reach zero in approximately 5 years. What would happen then remained a mystery, but Quinn was determined that humanity would be prepared. Under her guidance, the global defense network was completely restructured. The Aegis array remained a crucial component, but it was now supplemented by a network of deep space observatories and early warning systems designed to detect anomalies, like the artificial radiation burst that had preceded Starfall. More importantly, Quinn emphasized the need for humanity to understand the cosmos on a deeper level. Traditional knowledge about celestial phenomena, often dismissed by modern science, was reevaluated and integrated into their approach. Ancient astronomers from cultures around the world had observed the sky for thousands of years, sometimes noticing patterns and relationships that modern technology had overlooked. 1 year after Starfall, Quinn published a comprehensive paper titled "Beyond Technology: A Holistic Approach to Cosmic Defense." In it, she argued that humanity's over-reliance on technology had created vulnerabilities that their unknown adversary had exploited. "True security," she wrote, "comes not from building higher walls, but from understanding the nature of the threat. We must observe the cosmos, not just with our instruments, but with our intuition, recognizing patterns and anomalies that may escape algorithmic detection." The paper was controversial in some scientific circles, but it resonated with a public still traumatized by the events of Starfall. People were ready for a new approach, one that acknowledged the limitations of technology and embraced a more balanced relationship with the universe. As the second anniversary of Starfall approached, Quinn stood once again on the observatory rooftop, watching the sun set over the South China Sea. The facility had been rebuilt, larger and more advanced than before, but she had insisted on preserving this rooftop space, a place for contemplation and observation without the mediation of technology. "I thought I'd find you here," Min said, joining her at the railing. The team is waiting for your final approval on the new Deep Space Telescope array. They can wait a little longer, Quinn replied, not taking her eyes off the horizon. I needed a moment to think. Min nodded, understanding her need for space. Over the past 2 years, they had grown closer. Their shared experience during Starfall, creating a bond that transcended their professional relationship. But he also respected her independence, her need to process things in her own way. Something's troubling you, he observed after a moment of companionable silence. Quinn sighed. I've been reviewing the radiation patterns again. There's something I missed before, something important. What is it? The pulses weren't just structured, they were modulated, like a message. Min's eyes widened. You think they were trying to communicate? Maybe, Quinn said hesitantly. Or maybe they were testing our responses, seeing how we would react to different stimuli. Like scientists observing lab rats, Min suggested, his expression darkening. Exactly, Quinn nodded. Which makes me wonder, what happens when the experiment is complete? When they've gathered all the data they need? The question hung between them, unanswered and unsettling. The countdown continued its inexorable progress toward zero, each passing day bringing humanity closer to an encounter with the unknown. But they weren't helpless. Under Quinn's leadership, the Cosmic Understanding and Research Division had made significant strides in both technology and methodology. The new defense systems were more resilient, designed to adapt to unexpected threats, rather than rely on fixed protocols that could be manipulated. More importantly, they had begun to develop what Quinn called cosmic intuition, the ability to sense patterns and anomalies in space without relying solely on instruments. It was a skill that combined rigorous scientific observation with a more intuitive, holistic awareness of the cosmos. We'll be ready, Min said with conviction, placing a hand on Quinn's shoulder. Whatever they are, whatever they're planning, we'll face it together. Quinn smiled, drawing strength from his confidence. Yes, we will. As the stars emerged in the darkening sky, Quinn felt a renewed sense of purpose. The unknown entity that had orchestrated Starfall had sought to destroy humanity. But instead, they had inadvertently united it, forcing people to recognize their common destiny as children of Earth. Whatever the countdown signified, another attack, a revelation, or something beyond their imagination, Quinn was determined that humanity would meet it not with fear, but with courage. Not with ignorance, but with understanding. The cosmos had turned against them once, but next time, they would be ready. Next time, the stars would find a humanity that had learned from Starfall, a species that had embraced both its technological prowess and its intuitive wisdom. As Quinn and Min stood beneath the vast expanse of the night sky, a shooting star traced a brilliant path across the heavens, not a harbinger of doom this time, but a reminder of the beauty and mystery that had first drawn Quinn to study the stars. In that moment, she felt a profound connection to the universe, a sense that despite its dangers and unknowns, it was humanity's true home, and she would defend that home with every tool at her disposal, both the technologies they had built and the wisdom they had gained. The countdown continued, but now, so did the preparation. When zero arrived, Earth would be watching, ready to face whatever emerged from the depths of space. And in the control room of the Solar Storm Forecast Center, among the advanced instruments and dedicated scientists, a small screen displayed a simple message that Quinn had programmed as their motto, a reminder of the lesson of Starfall. The universe speaks. We must learn to listen.